So I want to get into this Chris Jones discussion because, to be honest with you, it was brought up. I know the heavyweights kind of spoke on it, but we never really spoke on it because, to be honest with you, I didn't really see a path it gets done. If I'm being real with you, because a couple reasons. I think Kansas City will cut off their own arm to re-sign Chris Jones. I think they want Chris Jones. Without Chris Jones, they're not a contender, or they're semi-contender. Like, you need a guy, again, who had 15.5 sacks last year, 4th in the NFL. He wrecks games. And now, especially losing Frank Clark, who, in the playoffs, is money. Yes. They need Chris Jones. I don't think there's any route they think of besides re-signing Chris Jones because, unlike Tyreek Hill, even though Tyreek Hill is again, one of the, you could call him a top 3 wide receiver in the NFL, I think you feel a little more comfortable replacing Tyreek Hill because you got Mahomes still. If you get rid of Chris Jones, Mahomes can't help that. Chris Jones is your defense. Very young secondary. I don't think they're banking on, the young players they have. Karlaftis, they drafted last year, but he ain't Chris Jones. They want to re-sign Chris Jones. But again, Chris Jones, Kansas City, they remain far apart on a contract extension. Apparently it's really far apart, so kind of makes me wonder what Chris Jones is asking for. But I do think he deserves to get a bag. And if you talk about teams that are qualified to be in this race, not that it's the same thing, but with the Red Wings and Alex DeBrincat, with a guy like that who's going to need to be paid and you need assets to get him, there's not too many teams, Sam, that can enter that conversation. I think if Chris Jones said, hey, I want to be traded, I think the Lions are one of the teams that are most qualified with the assets they have to trade and the money they have to pay them.
I mean, you guys mentioned it before. I don't think there's any chance that Chris Jones leaves the Kansas City Chiefs because you can argue that during this Super Bowl run, you can make an argument, I'm not saying that you're going to win it, that Chris Jones was their second most important player.
Especially in the AFC Championship game.
I mean, he made that big sack on Joe Burrow. After Joe Burrow in earlier on in the drive converted that back-breaking, at the time what seemed like a back-breaking, I think 3rd and 14, Chris Jones wrecked that. If it wasn't for him, Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals probably go down and score, and they play in the Super Bowl, and they maybe win, and we have to have the Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes discussions, and I would be very, very upset. But that's beside the point. Chris Jones is one of the most valuable players in the NFL. He's a guy that the second he walks out, he is going to get a gold jacket. I don't know if it's realistic for him to come to Detroit, for Detroit to be able to create a package for him. But I'll tell you what, though. What if somehow they could work something out? I know Easy was kind of mentioning it yesterday on the heavyweights. Bringing Chris Jones to this defense.
That would be
like.
We'd have to give up a lot. The Lions would.
Well, that's an all-in move, though. That's a, hey, our window's right now move. Championship window. Now, if they feel like that window is with Jared Goff right now while he's under contract, you can make an argument. Go get Chris Jones.
Chris Jones is young, too. He's only like 24, 25. Like, he's not like towards like the end of his prime. Like, he could be getting better as we see it longer. So this would 100% be better.
Chris Jones is 29. So he's a little older, but regardless.
Maybe I'm tweaking.
No,
I am absolutely tweaking.
But I get your point. He's not old. He's 29 years old. There's still plenty of good years left for Chris Jones. I mean, we're seeing guys now, that are mid-30s that are going for these like 10-plus sack seasons. So I think Chris Jones is one of those guys that you have faith in him. And to Lucas's point, you're going to have to give a haul for Chris Jones and re-sign him. But again, this is where the whole, rookie contract thing comes into play because I know people hate talking about it, but this is how you're able to pay guys. When you have a quarterback or you have a bunch of other players on rookie deals, and right now the Lions do, but guys are coming up for contract extensions. You have Jonah Jackson next year. You have Amon-Ra down the pipeline. You're going to want to extend him. Penei Sewell down the pipeline. You're going to want to extend him as well. So there's a lot of decisions the Lions are going to have to make. I don't think it makes sense, but I mean, God forbid, Sam, if they did it, this would tell me that Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, they know, hey, this is our year. The NFC's weak. Let's go chase it.
Yeah, if the Lions get Chris Jones on this defense, I know it's a big-time hypothetical. Maybe they would be the Super Bowl favorites at this point. I mean, they would probably have, I'm trying to think, probably the second-best defensive player in the NFC, maybe third after Nick Bosa and Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
Definitely when it comes to contenders after Nick Bosa, they would have their guy. And alongside him on the defensive line is young Aiden Hutchinson, who is, I think, going to become one of those guys, one of those perennial All-Pros, Pro Bowler, possible Defensive Player of the Year type guy. So if you have those two, and then what if James Houston actually becomes something? And we obviously don't know what the Lions are going to have to give up, what it would entail. But at the same time, I'm just glad that the Lions are I don't know if they're actually in these conversations. It's a big time hypothetical.
way.
I understand that, but we're at least talking about it, and nobody's dismissing it as just crazy talk. Why the Lions? Because there has been a little bit, and this is something where I've had kind of a disconnect. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe everybody else is right. There are people when it comes to a lot of these teams that just kind of want to be in this rebuild for Evs, yo, and not take like rebuild
for Evs, yo.
That's the thing. We're like, anytime a free agent, anytime there's like discussions of somebody signing someone, it's like, no, cap space, no, absolutely not. Why is he going to come here? And now it's just kind of, and now there's actually some like, what if
Neil
Chris
Rule,
Jones,
is that you?
Seriously though,
I am not. I didn't say anybody in specifics, but at the same time. But do you guys know what I mean, though? Just having these discussions it's an interesting food for thought, because if he comes to this team, if Chris Jones were to come to this team, Super Bowl or bust.
Yeah,
Super Bowl
100%.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it solidifies and kind of confirms that you're in a window where Brad believes he could win a Super Bowl in. And I want to read this comment. Oh, Andrew chiming in, Klingerman. Appreciate you, man, for joining. He says, if they didn't think our window was now, they wouldn't be pursuing Teddy Bridgewater so hard, which, you know what? I think there is some truth to that. Because if you feel like you have a contender, you want to upgrade your backup position, especially if you feel like, hey, if Jared goes down, I'm not confident with who's coming in. I think that's a great option to have.
Stroughton out there. If I see Nate Sudfeld stepping out for the Lions this year, I'm gonna be pissed.
See, you know what's funny?
Because the first thing I'm thinking of, should have signed Teddy. I know 8.5 is a lot. We have more than that. Is there really anything more important than getting quarterback insurance right now? There's not. And I'm willing to overpay for insurance. I'm not saying 100% do it. But if I see Nate Sudfeld trot out there on the field this year, I'm going to be like, we should have overpaid for Teddy Bridgewater.
But remember, Lucas, I hear a lot of times that if your quarterback goes down, you should just punt the season no matter what.
No, well,
you should, like...
They're just being unrealistic and just having just like, oh, no, we're fine. No situation in the NFL is just fine. You always need to improve. The Patriots always had one or two good backup quarterbacks. We saw it with the Niners this year, the Eagles this year, the Cowboys this year. We don't have to get back on the subject, but
no. And Funky, he's chiming in as well. He says Jones wants $30 million. Don't hold your breath, people. Yeah, $30 million. I mean, you're getting paid as much as Jared Goff. So for Chris Jones, I expect 15, 16 sacks a season, which I think he can do. But that's a lot of money. I don't think it's going to happen. Just make it clear. We're just talking about the path it could happen or the way it could happen. I think Kansas City will re-sign Chris Jones. But this tells me if he's available and the Lions are in that conversation, hell, it tells me the Lions are ready to go all for it, because you can say, and I know this is like when you talk about adding new players, it's like, well, the Lions are comfortable with who they have. Chris Jones, I don't give a damn who you have.
Yes.
Chris Jones is far better than any player you have currently. So you should go get him. But we'll see. Gabby, what do you think? Not even just on Chris Jones, but for Brad Holmes, can you see him this season, especially if the season starts going well to start? They think, hey, we have a team that I think can make a Super Bowl. You see them going all in and trying to do something, or you think they'll just kind of let their team ride out as it is?
It would have to be the right person and the right fit, because if there's something that's been consistent, it's that these are all football guys, and if they're not going to be a football guy and they're not going to be a team guy, I don't see them. Bless you, Lucas. I don't see them spending the money.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot that they're working with right now, and that's also really me going off of the narrative from Brad Holmes earlier that we heard him saying that I'm not going to spend a lot of money on a player that's going to make a big splash. And I think they're looking for someone that could be consistent over time and that would want to stay with the team over time. If they can find someone that fits all of those holes, checks all those boxes, then maybe. But I don't know right now. I think it's early. I think it's I don't see them making that full run this year.
Yeah, I think part of it, too, is just kind of finding out what you have. Like, again, it's hard because you can't really predict this defensive line because there's so many guys that you like, but you don't know how they're going to perform. Like, Josh Pascal could come out and have 8-9 sacks. I don't know. Or he could have 2. I mean, there's so many, X-factor guys. Like, Liam McNeil could have a huge season, or he could not. And then you look in the offseason, you're like, yeah, we got to address this defensive tackle position. Aiden Hutchinson, I think, is the only guy we expect to go out and get double-digit sacks. James Houston, maybe so, but even James Houston, I don't know if this season he'll be right away playing every down. I think he'll still be a guy they throw in situationally. I think that'll still be, because that's where he thrives, quite frankly. So we'll see. Can't wait. I just need football to get here.
Too many question marks still because they also haven't put pads on. So
Right.
I don't see them making a move like this without seeing what everyone looks like with pads on first, which
Yeah.
starts tomorrow.
I just got to see Levi Onwuzurike. I know you're excited about that, Lucas.
I'm really not.
I
I'm really
know.
not. Like, there's no disrespect to the guy, but like, there's people like Levi, and it's just like, yeah, he's there, but it's just like,
Yeah, he's there.
I'm not like jumping out the gym to watch him. Like, there's a lot of solid guys there. Is his potential high? Yes, but he's a young defensive tackle who's already had a major back injury. Like, I'm not jumping out the gym for Levi right now. Again, no disrespect.
No disrespect,
I'll happily
Sam.
be proven wrong.
No.
And with a smile on my face, but I just feel like it's not going to happen.
Sam isn't a fan of folk heroes
No,
either.
Lucas, to kind of further your point, and I'm somebody who's excited that Levi Onwuzurike could be back in the rotation, but I heard some people, even at this network, kind of say like, oh, when Levi Onwuzurike was on the field in 2021, you noticed him, he showed some things. I'm like, did he though?
Yeah, it's
did
like,
he really?
It's like in 17 games when the Lions were bad, second round pick, you really wish he'd be starting at that point. And he really wasn't doing much, and then he has a major back injury. Like, there's nothing for me to be excited about.
Hey,
really, like,
I'm
to
just
watch.
saying he was higher ranked, and I know this is just pre-draft talk, but he was a higher ranked prospect than Ali McNeil.
I
Levi
know, but
Onwuzurike.
at the end of the day, what does that mean?
He
that
was
means-
morbid against the run in 2021. That's just a fact.
Well, that means that people feel like he has a higher ceiling than Aleem. Now, if he can live up to it or not, cool. If he does, great. If he doesn't, I think there's enough talent on this defensive line. They'll be all
That's
right.
what I'm saying. Like, we'll be all right if.
But you
we'll
can't
be
deny
all right
it. It's
either way.
intriguing.
That's why it's just like I'm not like we'll be all right if he doesn't. That's why like I'll happily be proven wrong. Like, it's not like I think he's just gonna go out there and suck, but I don't expect anything like major out of Levi this year. Like, everybody's like, oh, Levi's back. He's the one. He's the real one. That's the real Brad Holmes gem. It's like, guys, like, Brad's gonna miss eventually. I think this is the one that he missed on. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
Can't all be tens, Lucas. It can't all be tens.
You gotta have some 3s and 4s in there. You gotta switch it up every now and then.
Yeah,
You're
that's
not always
fair.
gonna be hitting high. Sometimes
That's
you
fair.
gotta take what you get, if you know what I mean.
That's 100%. Hey, that's fair.